There's a rather large elephant in the room right now, and that is the inaction of the Democratic Party when it comes to exactly how bad things they believe are going to be over the next 4 years. There are a bunch of politicians that ran on the fact that the next 4 years were going to be horrific, terrible, world-ending, democracy-ending. And yet now all of a sudden they're weirdly quiet. And that's having a little bit of a ripple effect across the Democratic realm, as certain people are understandably upset about this. And certain people like AOC and Bernie Sanders have kind of came out and done their best to talk to people because, in my opinion, they're the best at communicating with the left. But to be honest with you, there's still a really high level of uncertainness as to the future of America and progressive politics in general. I wanted to play a couple videos for you guys because, like I said, certain people within the community are not happy and they're making sure people know about it. One of those people being Politics Girl. Politics Girl put out a video just recently talking about how upset she was with the inaction of the Democratic Party. But first I wanted to get to something and show you guys a clip from a Bernie Sanders interview from earlier this week where he talked a little bit about why exactly people are upset.
Look, the working people of this country are extremely angry. They have a right to be angry. In the richest country in the history of the world, today the people on top are doing phenomenally well, while 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and millions of families worry that their kids are actually going to have a lower standard of living than they do. You got the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90%. We're the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all of our people. 25% of our seniors are trying to live on $15,000 a year or less. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. And the gap between the people on top and everybody else is getting wider and wider. And then, Kristen, on top of all of that, we got a corrupt campaign finance system which allows billionaires to buy elections. So if you're an average worker out there, you're saying, hey, I'm working longer and longer hours, going nowhere in a hurry, worried about my kids, and yet the people on top have never had it so good. Where is the Democratic Party? Are they prepared to stand up to these powerful corporate interests, raise the minimum wage, fight for health care for all people?
And that's the question on everybody's mind. Where is the Democratic Party? And if you had to ask me, I would say they're probably in disarray. Look, the political landscape that the left is used to has completely changed. Donald Trump destroyed what was our political system and replaced it with a WWE-style Jerry Springer insult contest. And the left just wasn't ready for it. They don't know how to react, and they're still working like it's 2008. But unfortunately for them, they have to get their act together. And they do have the means to do so, as they have lots of young voices and new voices that could possibly help them do it. People like Jamie Raskin or Jasmine Crockett or AOC, and even some older voices like Gavin Newsom and Bernie Sanders could help out. But the last thing that the left should be doing right now is going silent, because they are already losing the little bit of support that they had left. If there was any time to get people activated, that time would be right now. I want you guys to take a look at this clip, which is from Politics Girl, where she explains exactly how she feels about the feeling of being abandoned by the left during this very sensitive time.
I am feeling incredibly angry at the Democrats right now. I am not a Democrat. I am a liberal, which means I believe in individual rights and civil liberties. I believe in democracy and a free society. I am someone willing to respect people's behavior and opinions, even if they're different than mine, and I'm very open to new ideas. I'm someone who believes in the rule of law and the rights of man, and I understand that we need competent leaders for a civil society to run. But if those leaders are bad or don't do their jobs, I firmly believe we should be able to replace them. I vote for Democrats because they're the party that's aligned closer to those values than the alternative. And because I'm a pragmatist, I understand the country works on a two-party system. That doesn't mean I won't criticize the Democrats or push them to do more or blindly support their actions. It just means, to paraphrase my friend Franklin Leonard, Of the two parties, they are simply the one I believe I have a better chance of fighting about the future with. But after running a campaign telling us exactly what those of us who have been paying attention know, that Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans are an existential threat to this nation, to our democracy, to the rule of law, to the world order, the fact that so many of them seem to be normalizing this moment and acting like it's business as usual is disturbing.
Exactly. And what I think we're seeing here is, once again, the Democrats trying the methodology of the when they go low, we go high. But the unfortunate conclusion that most people are going to come to is that the Democrats are completely okay with the right walking all over them. Of course, the issue is the right isn't going to walk all over them. They're going to walk all over us. At least that's what we've been convinced by the Democratic Party is going to happen. So the real issue here is whether or not the Democrats believe in their own messaging or if they're just gaslighting the people that want to vote for them. And if the Democratic Party takes little or no action, then you're going to have to assume that they did not take these threats nearly as seriously as they wanted you to think that they did. Now, in my opinion, America is getting closer and closer to being a true oligarchy. So if I were to voice my opinion on this subject, I would say something along the lines of, I think that the Democratic Party is very afraid to upset billionaires within their own party that are funding their political careers. And that's why I started this with the Bernie clip, because I think nobody speaks better about that than Bernie Sanders does. I think Bernie's right when he says that these people are immune to the type of difficulties that are going to arise from situations that involve Donald Trump being elected president and the types of repercussions that the people down below, the middle class, the lower middle class, the impoverished, are going to face. These people are showing their very constituents that it doesn't matter to them because they're not going to be affected by it. Anyways, let's take a look at this other clip from Politics Girl, where she goes a little bit more into detail on what exactly is pissing her off about the Democratic Party's current silence.
I'm okay if you're just trying to get a lay of the land and you're listening and you're learning right now. I'm incredibly pleased to see brave leaders like AOC and Elizabeth Warren actually addressing the American people and acknowledging their fears and helping them come to terms with what's next. I appreciate congressional members like former CIA operative Abigail Spanberger, who's speaking up against the threat to global security if we put someone like Tulsi Gabbard, who is known to be aligned with Vladimir Putin and Bashar al-Assad and traffics heavily in Russian-based conspiracy, as head of our national intelligence. I am super proud of Democratic governors like Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker standing up for the rights of their people in the face of this autocratic takeover. But national leadership? What are you doing? You're not even going to address us? You're not going to give us the respect of an audit of a very peculiar election with catastrophic results for the American future? We understand it most likely won't change the results, but at least try to assuage people's very genuine concerns about how weird it all went down. You're just going to do photo shoots and Sunday shows and give us platitudes about setbacks when Americans around the country are trying to figure out how to stay alive in the next administration without things like healthcare or Social Security? It's just business as usual as the LGBTQ families worry about their marriages or their children being taken away from them. You really have no words for women as we watch the same unworthy and unprepared man beat yet another extraordinary woman for leadership. No movement to be trying to pass laws to protect our right to, say, get divorced or have access to contraception under a sexual predator president, filling his cabinet with other sexual predators or religious folks who see women as subservient and subordinate. You have nothing to say to the Black community who voted for you by extraordinary margins and are now hearing about white reparations. Nothing for trans people or trans children who have been demonized for years and are terrified about this upcoming administration. You have no words of wisdom or fight left for parents of America who might lose their children to long eradicated diseases or their public school education to private Christian academies. You don't feel like it's appropriate to reach out to the disabled or immigrant communities who are looking at this horrifying hellscape ahead of them. You don't think you should do that? Because that is incredibly disappointing. I mean, you guys lost. And it wasn't for lack of money or effort or enthusiasm on our parts. I don't blame Harris or Walz. They were great candidates. You guys didn't reach enough people. And now it seems like you're doubling down on ignoring us and what we need again. And it has to stop. You have to get out of your bubble. You have to regroup, get fresh leadership, use fresh eyes. The old guard has had their shot over and over again. And here we are completely out of federal power with everyone in the nation about to suffer under a mad dictator. So the buck stops here. Your party is in ashes. For goodness sakes, allow something new and better to rise from it.
Politics girl for president. I mean, where is she wrong? Losing is acceptable, but losing and then just going into your shell and acting like everything is fine and you didn't actually lose anything, that's bad. Because there's a lot of people out there that lost a lot. They just haven't lost it yet. So if you're a Democrat or a liberal and you're seeing what she's seeing, you tell me, what do you think? Tell me in the comments. Do you think that this Democratic Party has gone silent because they don't know what to do? Or is it because they're okay with what's happening? Because in my opinion, you're either complicit or you're complacent. All right, guys. Well, I hope all of you guys are good out there. Super thankful for you being here. If you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please do so. Remember, I love you. I appreciate you. And I hope to see you next time.